Hello, everyone. This is Deb McBride. Welcome to the Golden Astrologer podcast. Today is Sunday, November 10th, 2019, and I am broadcasting from Tamarindo, Costa Rica, which is up north, closer to Nicaragua. And so we're in a place now that's a little hotter than where I usually am, but it's a little business trip that I'm on. So welcome to the podcast, and we have lots of things to talk about. Now, the big news this week is tomorrow is the Transit of Mercury. And we're not talking about Saturn, Pluto for the moment. We'll get to them eventually, but we're not talking about big outer planet things. We're talking about something that's a little more local. And Mercury is the planet of communication. It is in the sign of Scorpio, and as you probably know, it's retrograde. Now, the retrograde of Mercury in Scorpio, definitely brings out information, intensity, passions, communications, intense communications, things that maybe were secrets and we didn't want them to come forward. Maybe these were things that we needed to kind of keep under wraps for a little bit. Maybe hidden information that we are not privy to, and then it comes out. A lot of times when Mercury is retrograde, the truth comes out. So we need to remember that during this transit. That's going to happen until the 22nd, which is a week from Friday, when Mercury finally goes direct. And actually, that's when it fully starts to move forward. It's going to go direct on the 20th. At 2:12 p.m. Eastern Time. Now, what's the transit of Mercury? Mercury and the Sun are meeting at 19 degrees of Scorpio. Mercury has been visiting Scorpio since early October. It reached 19 degrees of Scorpio on the 17th of October. It has not gone back there. It didn't station there. It's stationed at 28. So now what it's doing is it's coming back to that 19 degrees where it was back in October. And it's visiting, it's almost like an eclipse. It's visiting the sun in a way that it's moving across the sun's disk. So maybe you've heard of the transit of Venus, where you go out and you look at the sun and you can see a little black dot moving across the disk of the sun. This is what's happening with Mercury. It's happening tomorrow morning exactly at 10:22 a.m. Eastern Time, which is 9:22 where I am. Now, if you can see this, and a lot of this is visible in South America and in the Central America area and other regions, go online and look, see if you type in Transit of Mercury visible at an astronomy website, and they should be able to give you some answers as to whether you can see this transit when it's happening. It'll start earlier than that. Maybe you'll go out in the morning. If it's not cloudy, you look at the sun and you'll see how it's presenting itself. So the sun will have a little black disk crossing over, and it's going to go on for about 5.5 hours. This happened last time in 2016, May of 2016. So this doesn't happen very often. It happens a handful of times in a century. So astronomically, this is going to look interesting because we're going to watch Mercury pass over the disk of the sun and then pass away from it. And 19 degrees, 18 degrees of Scorpio, if you have something at that degree, or if tomorrow happens to be your birthday, you're going to feel this astrologically. Mercury will come back to 19 degrees of Scorpio as it, let's see, it's going to hit this degree. It'll get back to 19 at the end of the month on November 30th. So there'll be 3 passes of Mercury at this point. Now, this is what happens a lot of times when a planet retrogrades. It has this, what we call an occultation. It sort of blocks some of the light of the sun. Since Mercury is a tiny planet going across the sun, you're going to be able to see it move across the sun if you look, and if the sun isn't too strong, and be very careful looking at these things. And watch Mercury take this journey as it moves across the sun. Now, what does this mean for us psychologically, astrologically. Mercury is a planet of communication. It's going to do some blockage of the sun's light, but not really, because Mercury, like I said, there's going to be a little black ball going across the sun. And what's going to happen is Mercury and the sun are conjuncting, which they do many times during the year as they meet up at various points. But this is particularly powerful because of it really is passing in front of the disk of the sun like an eclipse would. So this is something where communication, any communications that you have tomorrow, which the date is 11/11, any kind of communications you may have tomorrow or in these next days, today, tomorrow, the next day, this is so completely powerful that if you are trying to reach someone communicatively, or if you are trying to, maybe you're giving a lecture, maybe you're giving a speech, maybe you're starting a teaching job, maybe you're going to publish your book, maybe you're starting a podcast. This is a very powerful time to do these things. I don't love initiating new things during Mercury retrograde, but maybe you have a lecture that you're giving and you don't have control over when that's happening. You're just asked to speak. This is very important. Communications during this time are very important and powerful. So you have to look into your mind a little more. And when you are dealing with the course of your mind and the particulars of your brain and your mental energy and your communication, you are embracing a whole new level of your mind with this transit. So it can help you go deeper in your mind. It can help you meditate more strongly and more powerfully. It can get a message across in a very powerful way. It can get a message to you. Maybe someone's trying to reach you and the information comes to you very powerfully. You could get some very important and powerful information in these next days that changes your life. Also, this is a great time to clear your mind, to purify your mind, to get away from the cobwebs, to clear out the debris, to connect with the purification, to connect with the clarity that your mind can have. This is a place to go in really deep into the center of your... Now, we have levels of mind. We have the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, the collective unconscious mind. I would recommend going in as deeply as you can to any of these layers, the subconscious, the unconscious, and getting and listening and getting a message and going in deeply about this. This is really a place where you want to listen. And if you get advice or some sort of message, you got to hang on to that. Write that down. Maybe something profound is going to come to you in these next couple of days, and it's really significant for you to pay attention to this. You may get the answer of all answers that you've been asking for months. You have a problem, you're trying to solve it, you need to get an answer. This is it. This could be the time to get it. Many times, like I said, when Mercury is retrograde, the truth is revealed. We're in Scorpio. This is a powerful, intense place of the zodiac where we can go in very deeply and connect with something very significant in our mental capacity. So my advice to everyone in these next days, especially tomorrow, the 11th, is to go deeply, deeply into the recesses of your brain. Find time, carve out a half an hour, and sit with yourself. And please do try to meditate. So many people are resistant to meditation. Oh, I can't do it. Oh, I don't know how. Oh, I've tried. It doesn't work for me. It doesn't work for anybody, always. There are times when we get completely lost in our details of our life. And, this is Mercury. We're talking about details. So what you really want to do is connect with the profundity of where your thoughts are going and what answers you need right now. And ideas. This is a time to, if you're searching for an idea, if you're trying to work through an idea, this is the time to do this. And right now, there's got to be some quiet time for you to connect. Now, maybe for you to connect, you've got to go outside and watch the sun. Maybe you have to connect with standing in front of the sun and watching that disk cross it. Maybe you don't need to. Maybe it's going to be cloudy where you are. You're not going to see the sun. But one of the more important things is to connect with and resonate with a place in the mind that is profound and deeply connected to some answer for you, and listen to it and own it. And maybe you're trying to reach someone and you can't reach them, and maybe you're going to use your mind to be able to reach them. And that's a profound thing to do. If you're trying to reach someone, you lost their phone number, you lost contact, maybe you're trying to reach someone who's a loved one that's passed on. Any one of those scenarios is possible during this time. So this is extremely powerful, and I highly advise you to do one of these tasks. If you don't have someone you're trying to speak to, talk to, or maybe you want to apologize for something or do a forgiveness exercise, that's a profound thing for tomorrow. But also, most importantly, you want to take your time and journey into your own mind. Mercury is also journeys. It could be a short journey, a long journey. Mercury is also when we commute to work, when we ride our bike, when we go out for a ride in the car, going around the neighborhood. It could be a communication that is not necessarily, unfamiliar to us. Like, oh yeah, I've got to take that. I've got to call those people tomorrow and do this. The Mercury transit is extremely heightened energy, and if you think someone isn't listening, they are. If you're trying to reach your spirit guides through meditation, great. They're listening more than you think. Listen for a message back. If you're trying to reach your loved ones by phone or by psychic information, do it. Maybe the best thing is to communicate with someone you love tomorrow. Even if you're not of the persuasion of, I don't necessarily thinking of the outer realms or thinking of people in other places. Maybe the best thing for you to do is just reach out to talk to somebody you haven't talked to in a really long time. Mercury's retrograde. It's time to reconnect. So this is very powerful, especially since it's on the heels of the full moon. Now, the full moon is on Tuesday, the 12th, and that full moon happens at a very similar degree of, this is within 24 hours of each other. And so while we're looking at this transit of Mercury, we've got the moon and the sun opposing one another. So it isn't just that Mercury's passing in front of the sun. Mercury's going to hang out there a little bit, and the moon is going to get involved on Tuesday. Now, that's very early in the morning, 8:30 in the morning, Eastern time. So which means that Monday night, you're going to see that full moon. It's already going to be waning on the 12th of the evening of the 12th. So it's approaching fullness on Monday night. Tomorrow's a powerful day. So I advise everyone to take some time. Maybe you need to communicate emotionally with someone. Maybe you need to, purify your mind on a very profound level. As my teacher's telling people, it's the purification of the mind, my former teacher. And maybe we all need to get some clarity on things tomorrow. And I think that's a great thing. But maybe, what I don't want you to do, Mercury's hot. Mercury's in front of the sun. There's a hot Mercury right now. Do not start an argument. Do not start a confrontation. It's the full moon. Please don't do this. It's Mercury, the moon, the sun. Please don't start an argument. Please don't start a confrontation. Please don't provoke someone. This is not a good use of this energy. You can use it that way. I mean, maybe someone is going to come and confront you that you don't necessarily want that confrontation. Perhaps cool the energy down. This is a hot Mercury. Remember, it's the sun. It's the hottest planet. You have to remember how hot Mercury can be when it's connected like this. Please do not have heated arguments. Be careful in your communications. Choose your words wisely and be aware of what's going on. So now we're connected to the full moon. The moon is in Taurus. The moon is opposite the sun, which is in Scorpio. We've got this lovely full moon happening that you'll go out and see after this transit of Mercury. So this is something that we're looking at Taurus and Scorpio. These are fixed signs. Mercury is in a fixed sign. We're in a lot of fixity right now. Stubbornness, but also not moving on something that you don't need to move on. Maybe you are antsy. Maybe you don't feel like you want to, you don't want to wait. You don't want to stay stable. Taurus is a very stable sign. If the moon's in Taurus, which is where it's going, it's where it's actually now going, where it's gone into Taurus. It's really been one of those situations where you have to kind of stay steady these next couple days. So it'll steady the energy a bit, even with the hot Mercury. So just be very stable with your energy and sort of not deviate in this moment. Stay focused. Try not to have an argument. On Tuesday, we have other aspects. Okay, so the moon is going to do its thing. It's going to be full. It's going to oppose the sun. This is powerful because it's at 19 degrees, almost 20 degrees of Taurus. And remember, we've got Pluto right there at 21, making a trine. So it's going to make a trine from the moon. It's going to make a trine to Pluto. It's going to make a trine to Saturn as well, because Saturn is at 16. So it's trining on either side. So it's approaching when that moon is sort of in between those two places. It's making a very lovely aspect to Saturn and Pluto. So this is actually very good for Tauruses and Scorpios. We like this. What's a trine? A trine is a smooth flowing aspect. And we can make some good use of this. Taurus is a pretty industrious sign, so this is a good industrious full moon. It's good for communication. It's good for your projects, and it's good to stabilize yourself in the whirlwind that is Saturn and Pluto. And what we're looking at now is sort of an opening door to the Saturn Pluto and understanding it. Remember, Saturn kind of slaps you across the face when Pluto's trying to empower you. You get worried, you want to give up, you want to say, I don't know how this is going to ever get accomplished, as you approach the mastery that is yours, that we're approaching in January. You need to be very aware of Saturn's voice getting in the way as you seek to empower yourself with Pluto. Do this, practice this, especially during this full moon when there's this opening and where there's this Mercury. So we're all working together this week. Very powerful. Mars, which is in Libra, which has been through a heck of a time, is really going to be in a nice aspect to Jupiter. So Mars is getting ready. It's at the end. We're moving through the end of Libra with Mars. And next week, in the middle of next week, not this coming week, the following week, Mars is going to leave and go into one of its favorite signs of Scorpio. But not just yet. As it's leaving, getting ready to leave Libra, it's going to make a nice, smooth flowing aspect to Jupiter. So it's going to give Jupiter a kiss on Tuesday. Very good. That's at 1:20 in the afternoon Eastern time. This is a very smooth flowing aspect. We like this. Mars is action. Jupiter is abundance. Jupiter is expansion. Taking action towards expansion in a graceful, easy way, in a non-combative way. This, Mars doesn't love being in Libra, but when it combines with Jupiter, this is actually, we can get a lot done this week. We have a good full moon. We have a good progression of transit of Mercury across the sun. We've got Mars and Jupiter connecting in a productive way. This is a productive week. So if you've been working on stuff, this is a good week for things to pop. So we like this. We like this. We want to keep moving this energy forward. We've got to move forward. We can't just, even if Mercury's in retrograde, we have to keep moving our projects and our plans forward. It's a little bit of a soul-searching week too, so that's good. Other good aspects on Wednesday, the sun is going to sextile Pluto. This is another kiss. This is an empowerment. It's going to give us some good energy towards Pluto. The sun is in Scorpio. Pluto rules Scorpio. This is very powerful, even though it's a smooth flowing aspect, even though it is an opportunity oriented aspect, meaning it's not going to hit you like a ton of bricks. It's going to give you that opportunity to empower yourself on a different level, to come to some powerful realizations, to make some progressions in your life. This is good. It sextiled Saturn last Friday, the 8th, as we talked about last week. And that's like, whatever's aspecting Saturn is then a few days later going to do the same thing to Pluto. Sextiles are smooth. They're flowing. We're in a productive week. We're in a productive time. Make it work for you. Use this energy productively, creatively, intelligently, intuitively, and powerfully. Use this, take advantage of this week. This isn't one of those weeks where we're going to get smacked around. This is one of those weeks where we've got to learn the lessons we've just learned when Mars hit Saturn and then hit Pluto. And we have to use this stuff wisely. So we've got to really connect and do some, maybe some more deep homework, but really this is a time to reap the benefits of all the hard work we've been doing. So on Wednesday, we also have the Mercury that's been just transiting the Sun. It's making a lovely aspect to Neptune. All intuitive channels are open this week because the next day Venus squares Neptune. All intuitive channels are open. Neptune is getting aspects from the inner planets, major aspects from the inner planets this week. Again, there's intuitive work to be done. There's messages to be heard. There's connecting with people. There's meditations to be done. There's creative, artistic possibilities to be had this week. So I think that we've been beaten up a little bit in the last couple of weeks. And I think this is the time to use the lessons we've learned and take them as opportunities to grow and shift and change. And I have felt the definite change. I told you guys a few weeks ago with when that Venus went into Sag, it was really much lighter. Now she's going to square Neptune this week on Thursday. This is, Sag is always about some sort of searching, seeking, education, learning. With Neptune, it could be a very intuitive, artistic, creative learning experience. Be a little bit careful. Don't overindulge this week. Thursday, when we've got that Venus-Neptune, it can be overindulgent, especially when it comes to partying. Venus is sad. She likes to party. You don't want to get overindulgent with food, drink, whatever, because it might come in a way that you don't, benefit from it. So use the energy wisely. Use the energy intuitively. Use it to solve problems, intuitive problems, or artistic advancements. You want that. The moon is busy this week. After it makes that full moon aspect, it's in Taurus now. It's going to be in Taurus till Tuesday. It's actually going to be in Taurus till the wee hours of Wednesday. It's going to make a very long void on Tuesday. So after it has that full moon aspect, 8:34 a.m. Eastern time, correct for your time zone, 10:48 Eastern time, it's going to go into void and be void all day Tuesday. So the void happening on Tuesday, and then Wednesday it doesn't go into Gemini until 3:48 a.m. Eastern. So we're going to have a long void on Tuesday after the full moon, and then we're going to go into Gemini the next day. We'll be in Gemini for a couple days this week, ruled by Mercury. So here we are with the full moon, Taurus, Scorpio, and then when it goes into Gemini, it's ruled by this Mercury that's just had a hot transit across the sun. This is a hot week, Great week for thinking, great week for problem solving, great week for analysis. We go from Gemini Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, it goes into Cancer at 11:15 a.m. after being void for about several hours. It's going to go void in Gemini 6:40 a.m. Eastern time, and then go into Cancer, where it's going to be the rest of the weekend until Sunday afternoon, where it goes into Leo 4:57 p.m. It's only going to be void a short time on Sunday. So what we really want to do is get some action, energy, movement this week, and then rest up and let the emotional body have its rest over the weekend, next weekend, when the moon is in Cancer. And it's going to, it's going to do that opposition. It's going to do that opposition to Saturn, the opposition to Pluto. If you're a Cancerian, you might get triggered. If you're a cardinal sign, Aries, Libra, Cancer, Capricorn, you might get triggered. But it's okay. There's no occultations. We're looking at, maybe a Cancerian peaceful weekend next weekend where we can do some just sort of relaxing, resting, reflecting, because we've got this hot Mercury week and we are going to be doing a lot of thinking and analysis in these next few days. So with that, use that energy wisely. Then when we go into next week, Mars will shift signs, go into Scorpio, and next Tuesday and the 19th. And then we're going to get sort of at the end of Scorpio for the sun, and we're going to be going into Sag next weekend. So the big news this week is the transit of Mercury and the full moon. Very important aspects. Stay clear. The more clarity you seek, the better you're going to get some answers. And if you have some answers, if you have some questions, write them down. Seek an oracle. If you have an oracle available to you, I Ching, tarot, whatever, seek that out. Use it. Go see an astrologer. Hey, and use your studying and your intellect this week wisely. Intellect. It's an intellectual kind of week, but it's also a week to delve into the intellect in a very profound, deep consciousness way. So I advise all forms of communication except harsh ones this week. Communicating with yourself, communicating with others, communicating on the astral plane, communicating in the quantum field. Extremely important. I thank you for listening. This is Deb McBride, and this has been the Golden Astrologer podcast for the week, the 10th of November. And I wish you a lovely Mercury transit. If you'd like to reach out to me for a session, you can go to my website and self-book. Just click on Book Online. My blog is available. It's Astrologer's Thoughts. Seek that out. Have a look. And my Instagram is Golden Astrologer, the Golden Astrologer. My Twitter is @DebAstrology. And I have a YouTube channel where you can watch my Saturn-Pluto video, my eclipse videos, and my moon in the signs and relationships videos, in addition to accessing all back issues of this podcast. I wish you a lovely week. Enjoy yourself and be productive. Thank you for listening.